The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
Wholeness means to me being in a state of joy.
Wholeness means feeling complete, owning my authentic gifts.
Wholeness is really connected. Everything is connected to everything.
Wholeness is where we have access to all parts of ourselves.
The deck we're using today is the Time Traveler's Oracle by Denise Lynn. And the card we picked today is Creativity, which is messages from the Venice Renaissance in Italy. So our time traveling has taken us to Venice. It's 1535, and we are currently in what the Venetian Senate has proudly dubbed the most beautiful and illustrious city, which at present exists in the world. You and I can't help but agree. It's spectacular here. This Italian city built on a series of islands connected by bridges is vibrating with an almost mystical creative force. We can feel its energy tingle inside our bodies. The whole city is alive with painters, sculptors, architects, musicians, ceramists, glassworks, woodworkers, lace makers, and more. We arrive in the time period called the Renaissance. Every direction you and I turn, we can see the effects of this time period in the architecture, art, literature, mathematics, music, philosophy, politics, religion, and science. The vibrant energy of this time inspires many people to question long-held beliefs about the arts. This creates an environment of curiosity and breakthroughs in which new ideas are constantly being introduced. This is the message of the cards. Immense creativity and inspiration are expanding in your life. Listen and act on any spark of inspiration that you receive. Don't wait for a better time to follow through with an idea. Even if it seems unconventional, welcome fresh ways of viewing the world around you. Trust that your creative ventures will be successful. Creativity can arrive in many forms. There are the usual expressions of art, music, dance, poetry, and writing, but there are also other ways, such as novel ideas, new philosophies, and inventions, even dreams and visions about the past and future. Creativity and inspiration are, in fact, receptivity, a way of being open to the creator. One of the most profound ways to activate creativity is to be receptive. This card suggests that you take time to be still and be open to divine inspiration. Listen and act. Let your creative juices flow. So that's really cool.
That is cool. That is cool. So I think Leonardo da Vinci was like the epitome of the Renaissance, I think, right?
I think so. And the cool thing about Da Vinci is like he just wasn't an artist. He was an inventor.
Right. Very scientific.
All I learned about him was from Ever After. So don't take that for
Well, Ken Burns has his latest documentary is on Da Vinci, and it was fascinating. I love like Ken Burns documentaries. They're like some of my favorite, but this one was fascinating. I mean, listening to that, so listening to what you were just describing and kind of putting it through that lens, it was like, we always think a long time ago things were just very different than they are. Oh no, they were, it was really very fascinating. Yeah, very, very fascinating. He was born from an affair. And so they had so it was almost like you knew who they were. His father acknowledged him, but he wasn't able to be part of the family. It was just the way it was. And he, just fascinating. He had different lovers over time, male and female. They, he was interested in the body and how it worked. And it was really fascinating because he thought, water is like a flowing thing, and that's how, our body is. Like he saw things so right-brained and saw things connected so right brainly. It was like wild because then he could put it into left brain, like drawings of like airplanes, things like that that hadn't and wouldn't be discovered for hundreds of years. Like it was just really fascinating time. That was the energy of that time was extraordinary. Just so much change, so much really, really fascinating time of life. And yeah, we think of it, I don't know, at least, I think if you probably studied it, you would be way more, understanding of that time. But I was really surprised listening to that was like, oh, wow, that was some interesting time, you
Well, do
know?
you have I have this like weird belief in my mind that people in the past were more moral and
Right.
rule following, pure.
Puritan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the more I
Innocent.
learn, I'm like,
No.
no, even when I learn about my own like grandparents, I'm
Right.
shocked at some of the things that come out because of maybe because of the expectations I was given, but it's like you didn't live that way, yet you're telling me I'm supposed it's just weird. And
Yeah,
so
it's
I
so strange.
assumed that in the times past that it was, well, everyone was so good and nobody made mistakes. And if they did, it was just, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was just yeah, it was really interesting and yeah, and at the end of his life, so he always had this like kind of complicated relationship to what were his half siblings.
Mm.
Um, and then he ended up leaving his money to them. Like it was just a life. It's just you just think of someone in these big moments, but that's why I love documentaries is because there's so much along the way. There's so many ups and so many downs, and back then, like as an artist, you would have like a patron that would pay for you and have
Oh
you
yeah.
do these things and so what was really interesting is like his Last Supper, he spent so long on that because he wanted to make it at the time the art was very I don't know how to explain it but and I don't know if I'm remembering it completely right but it was like he did it very like literally and it had dimension to it. It looked like a real paint. It looked like a picture. We would think of it as a photo.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, um, it was very controversial because it looked like real. And at that time, you kind of wanted like big goblins there, you wanted things to be scary, and he did it as just like normal people. And that forever, whatever reason, that was like revolutionary at the time and very like, what do we do? What do we do with this? Because that was not the style of
Yeah, challenged the
scripture.
norm. Yeah.
Yeah, he challenged the norm. So anyway,
I'm gonna have to
that's
watch
an
that. That
interesting
sounds
card.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's. I have like the on Amazon Prime. I think is where I get it. But you can get like PBS documentaries, and I have. It's like the
The
cheapest little
subscription.
thing. Yeah, but I love it because I learn like, oh my gosh, when you learn about something, it changes you so much. When I learned about different things, it's like, oh, it becomes more the story lengthens over a whole period of their life versus just these moments. And I mean, if you want to get like I remember canning to while I listened to 6 episodes of the Roosevelts. He does a Roosevelt one. Fascinating, like fascinating. I mean, we're talking 1920s, 1920s
Yeah.
period when this happened. So, like Eleanor Roosevelt, who is famous, woman, strong woman. Do you know what her maiden name was? I did not know this till I listened to her
But was
maiden
she,
name is Roosevelt. They were related.
oh, they were cousins. I knew
They
that they were
were
cousins or
they
something.
were like, yeah, they were so Teddy Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt were cousins. And yeah, so that was her maiden name. They were kind of related. And anyway, it's really interesting story. Um,
Wow.
and really, really how I'm watching those, in that one, you really see how the US really transitioned. That was a huge period of time from one president to the end of the other. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt was president for 4 terms, which is now it's against the Constitution. Back then, it was just a courtesy because that's what he had said, I'm 2 terms is enough. So everybody just kind
Oh.
of followed that out of respect.
Mhm.
And then after they made it a constitutional thing, but it's fascinating. I'm telling you, we're getting off topic, but fascinating about documentaries and looking back. And I guess that makes sense because we're going to talk a little bit about what we've talked about so far this year, 2025.
Yeah, we are. So this year, Michelle and I made the decision that we wanted to have a theme for the Wholeness Network podcast and kind of the Wholeness Network as a whole, as far as what we're going to talk about. And so we decided to find books that we felt like were books that would be influential on your wholeness journey, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Maybe things that you knew a little bit about that you wanted to know more about, or I guess selfishly, because we picked the books, like it was things that we were interested in too. So we started out the year. January was
The Big Leap. The Big Leap,
by
which
Gay
I
Hendricks.
I have to stop and give credit because I'm telling you, like probably 8 out of the 12 of the, well, let's see, we're doing different things in the summer, but I feel like Shalene, I think we were doing over Marco Polo, and you're like, how about this, and this? And I was like, great. Like you honestly, she had the idea for the book, started concentrating on books each month. And then you just threw out these books, and some of them you were like, thanks for picking this book. And I was like, no, you picked that book. You were the one that picked that book. Yeah. So you must have been like, had some wave of
I must
inspiration.
have been channeling something. I don't know.
Came
Yeah.
quick. Yeah, because you really did. Like you, I was like, oh yeah, I would like that book. But I think, yeah, the only book I really suggested out of the blue was, I think I might have suggested Attached and Parts Work. But otherwise, it was like, what about this? What about this? And I was like, great.
I
So,
don't even know that I'd heard of the Big Leap though, if it wasn't for you, did I?
yeah, we might have talked about it beforehand, but
Oh,
you had read it, right? You had read it the first time around. Oh, you had never read it.
oh, yes, I did. You're right.
Yeah, because you had said it was different this time.
Yeah, it was different. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So
That's
we
good.
were so excited to start out the year with that Gay Hendricks and Katie Hendricks.
That's
Both
awesome.
the interviews were so good, and he was great and lovely. And but if you want to if you want to kind of open your mind, go listen to Katie's. Katie's was like so like gave you real things to change your life about. I think, like it was like really good really concrete steps of how she's trying to help the world, and we just kind of went with it, and it was great.
I agree. I agree. And the one thing I learned from her, honestly, is to start telling the truth.
Yeah,
And I think it's always worked out in my favor overall, but there have been some uncomfortable moments telling the truth. Some people don't like it.
right,
I've realized. But then I've also came to the realization of like I want people in my life that are okay with that.
right.
So overall it's been really good. But yeah, the Big Leap is great. He told us about a book that he wrote that is every day something to do to make your next big leap.
That's right. That's right.
So I have it on my nightstand. It's a process.
What is
So
it again? Because I'll put
it's
it in the
called the
show
year of
notes.
the big leap. The year, I think big leap year, maybe something about a year, but
Okay.
it's kind of something that you can go through piece by piece, which if reading a self-help book is challenging for you, I actually think that'd be a really good thing to start with because it
Yeah.
is just a page a
Yeah.
day you can go through and it has, his what is it like a mantra or saying that you have it on your phone every day. What is it?
Like an affirmation. Oh, what he says to say every
Yes.
day?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I know. I was going to make a
I
note
was with
about
you and
this.
all of a sudden you got a notification. It showed up. I'm like,
Yeah.
props, props. I
Yeah, I'm
appreciate
gonna do a post about because it's kind of funny. I was looking at it today, like this is pretty funny. I'll have to do like a screen recording and show you. Like my life is full of like pop up, remember this. But
it.
at 9 a.m. every morning, I expand in abundance, success, and love every day. I inspire those around me to do the same. Which I love I love adding that second part because
Yep.
I think it's true that it's sometimes I know in my life it feels like manifesting something. It's like I'm all alone here. I've got these people
Mhm.
around me like that are not really into this, or I feel like I'm doing it for more than just myself. And so I like that it's like, and I inspire others to do the same. And I just, say that to myself and then check it off and move on. Like it's just, but I really do. My intention is to really feel that every single day, that I expand and in abundance, success, and love every day. I just love that. And I inspire those around me to do the same. So
I really
yeah, that's in
appreciate
that
that.
book.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good book. Okay, so we will put the link to that other book. We'll put the links of all these books in the show notes so that you can catch up
If you're
and
sitting on the beach this summer, you can just grab one and read it. And I feel like most of these books that we picked, to me, who is not a self-proclaimed hard to read nonfiction books, I felt like they were really pretty digestible and really easy to read.
True.
I did have a deadline, which really helps. So if he needs to give you a deadline, DM us, we'll give you a deadline.
That's right.
But yeah, I really liked all of these. They were not hard to read. So
No, they weren't ready. I mean, weren't really that hard. So yeah, so then we move into February because it's this, kind of the love month. And with
yeah,
Valentine's, we focused on the book Attached. And like you were saying earlier, that you see it everywhere. You're seeing attached.
I see attachment everywhere. I was telling Michelle that sometimes I don't know if it's the whole thing of like because what you're focusing on, you end up seeing, but it's like this new language that I was introduced to about attachment. And yeah, I see it everywhere. I see it people talking about it in therapy casually, obviously
Yep.
therapy. But even I've been working on some work things for a special ed thing, and there are talks about attachment and how that relates to people's placements and how they work in the world. Like to me, that's so awesome that that crossover is kind of rippling around in all these different areas.
Yeah,
So it is
that's true.
really useful knowledge, I feel
It,
like to have.
I know. I think we started off the month with me saying if there was anything that me and my husband have learned, if somebody said, what would be your biggest piece of advice for being able to have a stable marriage, it would be learn about the attachment system, learn about attachment with
Yes,
like hands down. Like, why do we not learn that? Because it shows up everywhere.
it
It
does.
shows up everywhere. And it's basically our whole. So if you think about a nervous system and then you have the attachment system, and they're almost like the same thing, they're almost cousins, working together inside your body. It's like they work with each other. And so if you're feeling, you might, and it gives you words too, because it like we learned about in there as, as an, you might have some feelings of abandonment, or you might have feelings of like being smothered. Those are the attachment system at play rather than, really what's going on outside. It's really more what's happening inside ourselves. And it's more, and what was good about that book is it was more about just the awareness of it. It didn't say, you got to figure that out. It just was like, you got to learn who you are, and then
Hmm.
you've got to like you have your
Adjust.
relationship, yeah, to kind of support that in a way. And so some of it is you, recognizing that that attachment system wasn't developed the way you would like it, and some of it is your partner, saying, hey, they've got this attachment style, they're going to show up this way. And it was really to me like a little, they non-judgmental. They were probably a little harder on the avoidant attachment style, I would say, in that book. I'm like, if you have some avoidant, it might have been a little difficult to hear some of those things, but I still don't feel like they were like you're bad. It was just more like, you had different needs. Your caregivers showed up in a certain way, and I feel like it's like that's the truth. We need to understand that sometimes we can't, as caregivers, things come up. We aren't always developed in the most
I
ideal circumstances. Yeah. But that's the problem is it's like, and we don't know how to do the ideal until we know what can go wrong, or
mm,
what is, what causes what, I mean, so if you have a parent who, whether let's say they had an addiction, or even maybe a mental illness, or a physical illness where their focus had to be elsewhere than you, and you had to learn to take care of yourself, you might have more of a avoidant attachment style. Like if they, if they were maybe ill and you were scared you're going to lose them all the time, you might have an anxious attachment style. And it's just kind of like it's not something you really have control over. It's like it's just kind of happens. And I think we beat ourselves up a lot for trying to be a certain way when our system hasn't been built that way. But we don't even know. We don't even know what the possibilities are.
yeah, I love that you brought up the difference. Well, not the difference, but you started talking about the system. And
Mhm.
I don't know that the book talked a lot about the system necessarily. I think that's maybe stuff after. But what I love about talking about is a system versus a style, because I think it's so easy to blame other, I'm speaking for myself, to
Right.
blame someone for having a certain style or to say like, well, because of your style, I had to show up this way, instead of saying like, oh, your system is out of balance. However that is going to look, let's work on that and bring
Hmm.
you more towards that instead of just saying like, well, you're there and I'm here. And so it's not going to, we're not
Right.
going to.
It's not going to work.
So that's a really important word. I think the
Mhm.
system part and the idea of system is really good.
Yeah, like the attachment system. It is a system in your body, just like your nervous system. And like I'm telling you, if I popped a balloon in your face, it would be strange if you just sat there and it didn't bother you. Like it has a reaction towards exterior things. And when you're little, that's how it gets developed. And so that's going to show up in your relationships. It's just so I feel like I'm like everyone like we should learn attachment systems in school. Like we should learn them in school. It's really that life-changing to understand that,
Hopefully
like,
one day it will be in health textbooks and health.
that's right. That's right.
They do like my daughter had that doll that he had that baby that you
Yeah,
have to take care of. I mean, that's attachment right there. They just might not call it that, but that's something to look at. So
true.
put it
True.
out in the universe. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll listen.
Yeah, but like my son had to do that too, and we have like hilarious video of that. But it's like they never say, see, like it's like, yeah, it's really difficult to be a parent. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it
Birth
was,
control.
yeah, it was like he was like stressed out of his mind, this baby waking up all night crying. Like it was
Oh,
it was a little traumatic. But and I don't know what they said in the classroom, but like I wonder. You never know.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
February, that was a good
That's a great.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino Ciao, a new kind of flavor sparkling water. The kind made with real fruit juice, a pinch of Sicilian salt, and the sparkle of the Italian sun. With no added sugar and just 10 or less calories per can, enjoy. With love, from Italy. By San Pellegrino Ciao now.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Yeah, great one. And then April was the boy, the
No,
mole.
the March. March was the creative act,
March.
right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. March was the creative act. We moved. Okay, I put my notes in the wrong way. Yeah, creative act in March. And I was excited to, I had read this book, I think last year, almost to the same time, about the same time as right now, because we were coming back. Well, we were coming back. It was in July, actually. So when this kind of airs, maybe, no, a little different, but we were finishing up, and I just thought, to me, it was like such a different way of looking at creativity, spirituality, individuality. It was all kind of hidden under the surface in this book, but there was a lot there. It was a very dense book in that way. It spoke to a different part of your brain, I feel like, than a certain how-to books. And I could see how other people would be like, I don't even understand this book, because it was very,
Yeah. I almost think of like when you have in scripture, you have like the King James, which is all this flowery words, and you have to kind of really dig deep a little bit to understand. That's what I felt like this book was. Like there would be a way to explain some of the things that he was saying in a different way.
Yeah.
But that's not what his point was. His point was for you to look deeper for the meanings, to search inside yourself to see if you resonated with it, which makes it a little bit of a longer read, honestly.
It's true. It's true. And I think, to me, the thing I got out of it was to really, allow yourself to be this creative person, which goes along with the card today, and to, that your art is, you and your art are almost, that are the same thing, and when you think of yourself as a piece of art, whether it's good or not, depends. It's the beauty is the eye of the beholder. You know what I mean? It depends.
Yeah.
And there might be people that would spend $1 million on this form of piece of art, like a Monet, and hate a Picasso and vice versa. And it's not about Picasso's wrong and, Monet is right. It's like, it depends. And so do your art speak to your own audience. That's who you're going to speak to. You're not going to, if you're a Picasso person, you're not trying to do a Monet.
Yeah.
And so figure out who you are as a creator. What is your art? What is your vibe, you could even say, and then live it. But I think so too many times we're like, well, what's going to make it the most money, or what's going to please everybody? Yes, and it's like actually that doesn't work that way.
That's not the point. Yeah,
Right.
that's true. I like that. And one thing in the card today that I really loved was a creator of like philosophy.
Mm.
That even that kind of idea of like new ways of thinking about things is creative. And it's hard sometimes to show that, but it's easy to spread that message. And I love thinking about creativity in all those different ways. Like my husband was saying, I'm not creative. And I said, hold on, you're a marketing person. That's all you do.
Right.
You might not produce paintings, but you're creating all the time.
Yeah, right. And that's what that book kind of did, had to open up those things to like, what is your art? And for some, it's, some it's like they're just really good at plumbing. And somehow it's like they just know how it works. And that's an art, even though it's plumbing.
I don't know how to do it. So
Right.
yeah.
I don't know how to do it either. So yeah, that was a fun month.
That's a good book.
Yeah. And then April was the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse.
Oh, hold on. I wanted to say really quick that the Creative Act made a movie debut. It was in the new Avengers or the Thunderbolts. So keep your eye out for it.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah. And I've been following, if you follow on social media, Rick Rubin, he is just always full of these wise words. Like normally he would be in like the guru type, and he kind of is, but he's right in the middle of the rock and roll too. And so it's kind of interesting to hear his points of view on things, and he'll interview people on his podcast. Oh my gosh. I didn't even finish it, but he interviewed M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, Shyamalan. I love him.
And it was you'll have to watch, you'll have to listen to it. I'll have to put that in that. I'll put the notes. And
he changed horror movies with Sixth Sense. Like he really did. So I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, and he talks, and they really talk about the art of it and how he has to feel it a certain way, and really, really good. You would love it. So I will put that in the show notes too, because it's just a totally different way of the back end of movie making that you just wouldn't get on any other podcast. Like, because it's more about the process and what did it feel like, and what would you say to that? Because he was a young kid. He was in his 20s when he made that movie, and how it'd be different now, and what he wants out of it now, and stuff like that. So fascinating, really, really fascinating. And how he's kept himself, like he lives close to where he grew up in Pennsylvania, and he does that on purpose because he wants to be tied to his people, and things. Anyway, really, really good. So good. Really good episode. So follow him. And then in April, we moved into like an easy story with the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. And that was just kind of fun to have, like, just kind of a breath of fresh air. And that book is just so full of just really good quotes.
Wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah, that's the word.
Such an easy way. I mean, even a child could read it and they'd probably get something totally different out of it, but I don't think they could read it and not be changed just a little bit.
I think you're right.
That's how I felt when I read it. I just thought, I don't know if it was a combination of the words and the pictures and the progress of the story, even though you really could pick up the book anywhere and start reading and get something out of it. But there was a little bit of a linear story to it. And it's just lyrical and beautiful, and so many little, not really Easter eggs, but I love that he added the sheet music at the end of it. And there's sheet music, and it's the same piece of music at the beginning and at the end, but he changed little things on both of them, and just that makes it so that you can read it more than once and get something new out of it every time.
Right. There was so much meaning packed into that book that, like you said, you're changed, even if you just read the words. Like you're changed from the beginning to end. And I remember, so I think it was in that month, and I was on social media, and I came across, I think, Hillary McBride, who I love. She was making a comment about something, and she talked about how, I think her idea was kind of like, but sometimes I just want to eat cake. You know what I mean? I just want to eat cake. And so I commented the quote from that book that was like, sometimes we do this and cake. You know, like I can't remember the quote. I can't remember the quote, but
Like
it
by the
was
mall,
like,
I think.
yeah, but it was kind of the idea was like, it's okay to like cake. You know what I mean? Like it was cake, it was just a sweet little thing. It just was perfectly. And I still will get people that like that comment, months later, they'll like it. It's through the Wholeness Network. Um, I don't know how you could find it, but anyway, it was like I just thought that was just what we was on our mind, and it just fit so perfectly in that little in what she was saying. Because there's, sometimes, think about the cake as like a metaphor, as like, it's like I should be worried about dinner, not dessert, or I should be, that's not healthy. I need to be, and it's like, yeah, but it's sometimes cake is not necessarily wrong. It's
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Cake is not wrong. And sometimes we just go to those extremes. It's like we automatically default to like cake is bad, but it's like on your birthday, like not after a nice meal, like not when it's your wedding, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's more complicated than that. Anyway, and that's kind of a little bit about like that was just one of the little um threads of that book was how the mole was always wanting cake. He was like happy to have cake.
But he
And
had things that he loved and he wanted to partake in those things that he loved. But like there's levels, right? Because if you were a little kid, you're like, yeah, cake's pretty awesome. I have
right.
cakes on my birthday. They make me happy, and then you get more and deep into it. And as you start to learn, you ascribe, like you said, those goods and those bads, making that cake no longer neutral or no longer good. It's bad now, but does it have to be?
Hmm.
And what are other things in my life that are like cake? Like that's the awesome part about that book. I love it.
Yes, so so good. And I mean, what are some other quotes like what was the bravest thing you've ever said? Help. I mean like, dang, that's
I
that's
know.
good. That's really good. Um, so that was great. And then May, we were into Braving the Wilderness, and this was kind of an interesting month. We had two guests on that were similar. They had a little bit of similarities in what Braving the Wilderness was kind of like for them, and
Right.
they both happened to do with their religious, what they were born into, and it was interesting to have that just kind of happened out that way, didn't it? It was kind of
It really did. Yeah. That wasn't the plan from the beginning,
no,
but
not at
things
all.
do it that way. And yeah, I think braving the wilderness, it sometimes does come from those childhood things that we were just given, right?
Hmm.
I remember when we talked about Viola Davis, like she was just given her life. She didn't choose where to live. That
Hmm.
was just given to her. And I think, and then that's our job as an adult is to look at those things and make a decision if we want to keep going that way, or if we want to change it. And that is the wilderness because we don't know anything about it. That's
Right.
all we have was our experience before. And when we want to make a change and we decide we want to live differently, that's the big step. And I think that that's probably a role of an adult as you're developing. I don't know if there's a scale for that.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's scales for other things, like we talked about with Valerie Hammaker, we talked about the stages of belief. Was that
Hmm.
stages of faith?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yep. We did. Yep. Yeah. I've talked a
and
little bit
so
about that.
yeah, there are things that are documented that you can see the progress over time. But I would dare say that I hope everyone at some point has to brave that wilderness and make a decision for themselves.
Hmm.
Parenting is a great example of that. You get to make that decision if you're going to do exactly what your parents did, if you're going to change it up a little bit.
Right. And I think that you made the point perfectly is it's like, when you change things, it's going to be scary. In fact, I was just in therapy this morning and earlier today, and I was sharing with her that, I have a good friend that was just diagnosed with her second round of cancer, and it was hard on their family. And I said, I'm having a hard time because, how do you say it'll be okay? You know what I mean? Like it's unfair. All of those things. And, and I'm having those feelings too. I've been on the side, like, are you kidding me? This is happening again. And Jackie, we all met her in the attachment month, but she said something that was so helpful. She said, yeah, you don't want to just silver lining it. You don't want to just say, it's good, we'll get through it. Like we honor where they're at. And then we say, but if we're going to break generational patterns, it's going to hurt.
Mm,
Things happen when we're breaking generational patterns
dang.
that that are uncomfortable. That's the wilderness. It's like you guys have broken the pattern. They had several things, it's a longer story, but it was like her and her kids, they have broken patterns, and that is disruptive, and that's they're choosing themselves, over other things, and it's difficult, and sometimes it'll feel like sometimes you can interpret that as the wrong move, right? Like you can interpret that as the wrong move. Really easy to do, but that just helped me have some clarity about, how I can kind of show up a little more. Is it's like I'm not going to silver lining it. I'm not going to just say you've got this, although that's part of it, but it's more just like, you guys are making big changes. You guys are shifting it up, and that causes some chaos. There's no getting around it. There is the wilderness. And why her wilderness is that, my wilderness is something else. Those are the questions we get to, wonder about, and think about all, forever. We're never going to get an answer that makes complete sense. We're just not going to get there. But that's what the wilderness is it's like learning and growing and changing and being somewhere different, going through a wilderness to get to somewhere else, and I think that was wise of her. I liked that.
Me too. So I was talking to my book club. We read the Viola Davis book, and I was like, "Oh yeah, when she was on Brene Brown," and they're like, "Who's Brene Brown?" And I was like, "They're all in their 50s and 60s," and I'm like, "How do you not know who she is?" Like, have you guys been living under a rock? Like, she's been on Oprah.
Right.
I was like,
who's Oprah?
I know. Like, you guys have an assignment to go find one of her books, and I'm like, she's a shame researcher, and they're like, ew.
Right. Just
like,
watch her TED Talk, her first TED Talk.
Yeah, I'll have to forward it to him. I'm like, you guys need to know about her.
Yeah, because I saw the TED Talk long before I knew she had that book. Like I had seen her TED Talk, and yeah, it
just blew my mind. I'm like, how is she not a household name?
Right.
How is she not like on toilet paper? Because everyone knows her.
Right. Right. Sheesh. Yeah,
anyway.
No kidding.
Hey friend, it's Chalene.
And Mechelle, and we're excited to tell you about our Wholeness Library membership.
It's a vast library of videos and holistic tutorials with experts around the world who teach everything from energy healing to Reiki to chakra work, mediumship, guided meditations, and more.
With our Wholeness Library membership at just $5.55 a month, you have access to all of that online, plus monthly live Zoom meetups and our app for learning and healing anywhere, anytime.
No pressure, just love. Try us with a free 7-day trial membership, and you can cancel at any time.
Come to thewholenessnetwork.com and enjoy everything from A to Zen.
See you there.
I'm Laura Worcester, host of the Intuitive Life podcast. As an intuitive medium and teacher working with the world of spirit, I love to share the peace that comes with the awareness that our departed loved ones are still with us. And I also love to help people explore what it means to live an intuitively led life. Start listening now on mindbodyspirit.fm or wherever you get your podcasts.